Disney definitely has a dark side, and this is proof. These are the top 15 creepiest Disney creepypastas, ranked. What's going down, Mouse Nation, and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing the top 15 creepiest Disney creepypastas, and guess what? They're going to be ranked. Now there are some slight spoilers ahead, but I won't ruin the stories or their endings for you. So sit back, relax, and turn out the lights. Let's get started. Number 15. Grad Night in the Haunted Mansion. It's 1983, and it's just another Disneyland Grad Night. A night where graduating seniors from high schools all over Los Angeles come and enjoy an overnight party at the happiest place on earth. Or so they thought. That's until a few teenagers decide that they want to spend the night in the Haunted Mansion. And that's exactly what they do, sneaking off to find a dark, humid room beneath the Haunted Mansion ride. Here they find a door to the infamous utilidors beneath the park, and check room after room. That is until they come across an animatronic that was clearly meant to be part of the ride. A skull-like face, bowed legs, cane in one hand, a hat box in the other. And that's when things get weird. This is not the best Disney creepypasta, but it's definitely a good read. Number 14. Corruptus. The third part to the Abandoned by Disney trilogy. A suspicious email. A man completely off the grid. All of his accounts fully deleted. All because he's found out about the dark mysteries Disney has been hiding. This is the weakest of the trilogy, but still an interesting conclusion to some of the best Disney creepypastas out there. Number 13. River Country Film. A teenage theme park lover gets excited about going on a trip with his family to Walt Disney World. He learns about the Abandoned by Disney water park called River Country. Wanting to see what it was like while open, he goes into a local library to do some research. He finds a VHS tape entitled The Old-Fashioned Swimming Hole. The tape filmed two young boys as they had fun in the water park the night before it closed. And there they are. As he watches the film, they're just splashing around having a good time, really enjoying themselves. Until the unthinkable happens. But remember this, there is no hope under the water. Number 12. Working at Disney. A Walt Disney World overnight employee who begins asking other employees who've worked overnights for a while about weird and odd occurrences that have happened to them while there. During a lunch break, he gets lost and wanders into some really odd and possibly satanic ritual. This story is definitely worth the sacrifice. But remember, no one dies at Disney. Number 11. Disney Catacombs. A few friends head to Disney. They decide that they're gonna stay after it closes, hopping from spot to spot, trying to avoid security. They get to explore the parks for about 30 minutes before finally getting caught. Then they're taken down a really high-tech looking elevator in Toontown. And when I say down, I mean they're taken way down into the catacombs of Disney. And finally into room 1901. They sit in an empty room with 3 chairs and a desk for hours, alone. Since no one seems to be coming back, they decide to explore until the lights go out and someone or something is unleashed. Are you going to take us down to the dungeon? Number 10. I was an undercover security officer at Walt Disney World. Silhouettes of Mickey following him everywhere. A former Disney cast member recounts a tale of the reasons why he had to quit his job and leave the state. He was once a black polo wearing security officer in the parks. He explains that a lot of weird stuff happens at Disney. From aliens to monsters, he's seen it all. This story revolves around 3 kids who go missing in Epcot. He hears what happens and decides to go investigate what happened, heading over to the ride Living with the Land. He immediately realizes that he's never felt comfortable with the farmhouse and decides to go in, immediately finding Masonic imagery. What he finds next as he searches for these kids is one of Disney's darkest secrets. Number 9. Disney Playhouse. A 5-year-old who loves to act wins his chance to be on his favorite show, Disney Playhouse. He and other children that were picked are left at Disney Hollywood Studios so that way they can film the show. During a break, he decides to go exploring, finding a secret room. Disgusting rotting character costumes and terrible smells lead this kid down a rabbit hole that he'll never, ever forget, no matter how hard he tries. Mascots only. Number 8. Splash Mountain. A boy separated from his family at the Magic Kingdom, left alone in the queue of the fan favorite ride, Splash Mountain, where no one can see him or hear him. He eventually gets on the ride by himself, realizing that this is not the ride that he remembers. This dark, twisted version of the ride is definitely not trademarked Disney friendly. Number 7. Peter's Shadow. An 8-year-old kid's mom finds an old Peter Pan VHS at a thrift store. She brings it home and begins watching it with the family. But this version is a little bit different than the original. From a creepy title screen to the blood-curdling screams of Wendy, this is definitely not your mother's Peter Pan. The kid eventually comes face to face with Peter Pan's shadow itself. I won't ruin it for you, but this story will leave you speechless. Number 6. Room 0. The terrified protagonist from one of the most popular Disney creepypastas out there, Abandoned by Disney, is back. And this time he's being followed at every step. Scared and paranoid, he tells his story. Hidden Mickeys everywhere. Threatened so that he'll retract his story. He's been emailing some close cast member friends and getting as much dirt as he can on Disney. A researcher looking for the rumored gas cots. No-faced children. Dead guests behind closed doors. And a bunch of other weird and random creepy stuff going on. Eventually he gets a nice bit of intel he had never heard of. What's really below the parks? Where do those utilidors lead? How about an entire city? From bars to a movie theater, restaurants and more. With the most exclusive being Club 22. Another employee verifies the information and gives him a little bit more. Room 0. What's in there? Sheer terror. Shut the door, dear. You're letting in the cold. Number 5. The Old Disney Home. A young Pinocchio fan from Oklahoma. A strange Disney-loving couple who disappear after a murder, leaving only a strange, thick, white goop. The young man, wanting to find a Pinocchio doll that he had been wanting, decides to go into the abandoned couple's home. Strangely enough, it's left rotting in a decaying state, with deformed and decapitated Disney characters, covered in white goop. Let's just say that he doesn't end up finding exactly what he was looking for. Welcome to the House of Disney. Number 4. It's a Small World. Backwards. A chilling tale of a man who rides It's a Small World, only to have every dark urban legend of the ride come true. The ride stops, the lights turn out, and the song begins to play backwards. And that's where the nightmare begins. From living murderous dolls to creepy music, this Disney creepypasta will literally change you. War is better. Walt's asleep. Number 3. The Disneyland Suicide Pact. A longtime Disneyland cast member who works his way through grad school and finally becomes a mental health assistant for Disney. Fears that his first week there will also be his last. A sinister online Disneyland suicide pact community called the Mouseketeers. Yeah, crying tears. That encourages Disneyland cast members to take their own lives. And these suicides begin to pile up, with Disney hiding every single one. Undercover, he joins this online community to try to find a way to stop it and figure out what's going on. Dramatic encounters from the Haunted Mansion to It's a Small World ensue. You'd be a fool to be too distracted to read this creepypasta. Number 2. Abandoned by Disney. One of, if not the most popular Disney creepypasta of all time. And this story has it all. I'm sure a lot of you thought that this was going to be my top pick, but it's a very close second. An abandoned jungle-themed resort in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. Its name, Mowgli's Palace. Plagued with issues from the start, both financially and from local opposition trying to stop the resort from being built. It of course was never finished, and our protagonist decides to go do some urban exploration of his own. He finds it almost impossible to get any kind of information or research on the project. It's as if someone had erased it from existence, and no one would talk about it. Not the locals, not former employees, no one. Eventually he found it, overgrown with plants and left in decay. Nothing left but stinking smells and empty rooms. Until he begins hearing voices. A terrifyingly lifelike statue of a python and a locked door with a sign that says mascots only. Thank you. And this is where the fear begins. Abandoned by Disney? No. Abandoned by God. Now before we get to the number 1 spot, here is an honorable mention. Disneyland, 1999. It's a Small World. A short, early tale on what should have been a normal everyday ride on It's a Small World. Instead, it ends in horror. A really quick and easy read, but it gets the job done. And finally, to the number 1 spot, the absolute most terrifying and creepiest Disney creepypasta ever. But before we get to it, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Number 1. Suicidemouse.avi. Why is this number 1? It's not too long, it gets to the point, and it creeps me out. Pair it up with the video itself, and you're in for a horror of a treat. There's a lost episode of an old Mickey cartoon out there. Unlike any other. Mickey is walking past the same buildings over and over again, looking depressed. Awful twisted piano music in the background. And then suddenly, static. For years it sat in the Disney vault because Disney legend Leonard Maltin didn't find any worth in it. 2 years ago he decided to have it put onto a digital copy anyways and had one of his assistants check it out and put it on for him. The video was longer than he had originally realized. 2 times longer. And much creepier. This is a can't miss thriller, but be warned. Don't watch the entire video. Because if you do, then you will realize that real suffering is not known. What do you guys think? Did we miss any? Which Disney creepypasta do you feel should have been number 1? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, I'm your host, Morty Mouse. I'll see you later, or I'll see you on the other side.